Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 46th episode, our target is Night at the Museum Kahmunrah Rises Again, produced by Walt Disney Pictures, 21 Laps Entertainment, Atomic Cartoons, and Alibaba Pictures, and distributed by Disney+. In 2016, 2 years after Night at the Museum Secret of the Tomb, it was announced that a remake of Night at the Museum was in the works from Alibaba Pictures Group. In August of 2018, Stacy Snyder, the then CEO of 20th Century Fox, announced that a television show based on the film was instead in development. In August of 2019, following Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox, the project was confirmed to still be in development as a Disney Plus exclusive film. Matt Danner was revealed to be directing the film. He also directed the Disney animated show The Three Caballeros in 2018, with much of that show's crew working on this film. Danner described the film as a spiritual successor to the show, which ended on a cliffhanger. The film released on Disney Plus on December 9th, 2022, being delayed from its 2021 release, and was under the Walt Disney Pictures banner instead of the 20th Century Studios one. Thomas Lennon, a writer for the original trilogy, stated that another film could be in development, with him expressing interest in doing another live-action film with Ben Stiller, the lead actor in the original trilogy. He also stated that this film, quote, opened up a lot of new possibilities. It was directed by Matt Danner and written by Ray DeLaurentis and William Schifrin. Sean Levy returned as producer. It was edited by Luke Perrault, and the music was by John Passino. The cast includes Joshua Bassett, Thomas Lennon, Kieran Sequoia, Alice Izaz, Zach Whitehall, Steve Zahn, Alexander Salamat, D. Bradley Baker, Joseph Kamal, Akmal Saleh, Zachary Levi, Gillian Jacobs, Jamie Demetrio, Shelby Simmons, Tenzing Norgay Traynor, and Lydia Porto. The film opens with the museum exhibits scaring away the new night security guard, much to the displeasure of Larry, the current security guard who is taking a position in a museum in Tokyo. The exhibits tell Larry that they want his son, Nick, to take over, and, after Larry convinces his ex-wife, the arrangements are made. We then meet Nick, who is struggling to accomplish much of anything, despite it practically being given to him on a silver platter, because he lacks the confidence to believe in his abilities. At his first shift, Nick fails to lock the basement door after being frightened, leading to Kahmunrah, who was locked away, to escape and steal the magical tablet that keeps them alive in the process. Kahmunrah then takes the tablet to the Metropolis Art Museum, as Nick and the exhibits chase after him. Kahmunrah brings the art museum to life and hops into a painting of ancient Egypt, planning to utilize time travel to rule the world, and along the way, he summons the god of chaos named Seth. Nick and the gang chase after him, eventually finding him using the tablet to summon an army of jackals that attack them. Using his musical talents, Nick is able to reverse the tablet, sucking in Kahmunrah, Seth, and the jackals. They all head back to the museum, and Nick, with his newfound confidence, believes in his abilities and accomplishes his goals. I think the most obvious place for us to start would be the poor continuity, plot holes, and questions. There is no doubt about it, and so I will state it very bluntly. This film does not make sense. There's the obvious leap in logic that the film makes so that it can exist, and that is the ending of the third film, in which the tablet is kept at a different museum and Larry retires, becoming a teacher instead. This film, however, elects to ignore that happened and places Larry and the tablet back in the museum. Similarly, Nick, who was deciding what to do after high school in the third film, is back in high school to have a school setting in the film. These are not minor contradictions. These are major plot beats of the last film. On top of that, there are many minor things too. Dr. McPhee, the director of the museum, doesn't know about the tablet, despite being shown it in the last film. Kahmunrah comes back with about as much explanation given for his return as there was for Palpatine in Star Wars Episode 9. A new exhibit is also added, Joan of Arc, who accomplishes nothing that the originals couldn't have done, and without her, the explanation for these continuity gaps could have been that the film takes place in between the second and third film. Similarly, the film presents so many questions as to how the tablet operates. It wasn't perfect in the original trilogy, and especially the third, but this takes it to a new level, with Kahmunrah planning to hop into a painting in the wall that will allow him to go back in time and take over the world, which is an insane thing to just hand-wave away. This tactic is again used in the end of the film to get the main characters back to the museum, by hopping into a poster of the museum. Similarly, the line between the exhibit of a person and their real-world counterpart is more blurred than ever. The first film was very clear about where that distinction lay, but this film muddles that line so much. I could go on and on about it, but the bottom line is that the film is riddled with inconsistencies and plot holes that are impossible to ignore if you've seen the previous films, but simultaneously presents plots that would be confusing to anyone not familiar with the trilogy. This is a key example of not knowing your audience. Trying to revive a dead franchise needs to make old fans happy and ease in the newcomers. This film fails to do either. Next, let's talk about the characters in this film. I was gonna separate some of their sections, but in the end, it just wasn't worth it. Firstly, there's Nick, who is the strangest to talk about. He is the most dissimilar to his previous film showings. But more than that, his character arc is very confusing and poorly fleshed out. His problem is that he lacks confidence in his abilities. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's the way that they go about it that's really unsatisfying. His problems are always presented with him almost accomplishing it, but then backing down at the last minute. Again, not bad by itself, but the fact that the film never expands upon this and he just learns his lesson because the film happens essentially makes this whole thing a mess. The exhibits are back and are, unfortunately, equally as disappointing. A large reason for this is that it lacks the star power the previous had, where a lot of these guys had talented, and many of them well-known, actors behind them, leading to a much more fun vibe. In this film, though, they're bland and lacking in any originality or uniqueness. Teddy, Sacagawea, Attila the Hun, Dexter the Monkey, the miniatures, Jedediah and Octavius, and Law all come along for the adventure, but offer nothing to distinguish themselves from one another. Why then they would also decide to add Joan of Arc to similarly do nothing is beyond me. That then brings us to the villain, Kahmunrah, who is similarly not nearly as charming or impactful as his original trilogy counterpart. I was going to call him a generic Saturday morning cartoon villain, but honestly, that would be an insult to charismatic Saturday morning cartoon villains. Kahmunrah also summons Seth, the god of chaos, but there really isn't anything to talk about. He's not inherently annoying, but he is by no means the comedic relief that they try to make him, and he mostly serves the purpose of giving Kahmunrah someone to talk to about his plans, so that he isn't just talking to himself. The characters are all generic, is the bottom line here. No one sticks out, and nothing interesting happens on the adventure to justify any of this. The second half is just prolonged distractions to allow this to reach film length, when this easily could have been a 20 to 40 minute special. I give Night at the Museum Kahmunrah Rises Again a 3 out of 10 for being an extremely bland and boring time. I want to quickly state, however, that I really don't have a clear distinction for anything I rate below a 6 out of 10, and I feel like I could rate this movie anywhere 5 and below. Until I watch more bad movies, I really won't have a clear guideline for this, but this score feels right, for the time being anyhow. It's not an entirely bad film. An animated Night at the Museum is a cool idea that's nice to see realized, even if not utilized to any extent. There are a couple of historical references that I caught that were cool, and even a couple more that I'm sure I missed. The film also had the benefit of being short, but I was utterly bored watching it, and cannot say that I recommend it at all, or that it at all justifies bringing the franchise back. Sorry for the shorter review this week, but I am completely out of things to say about this film. Welp, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.